Namaste. I'm DrTPS from Hyderabad.
Hello everyone, my name is Vandana and I'm from Dubai. Good afternoon sir, I'm Satvika from Hyderabad.
Sir, my name is Ashi and I'm from UAE, Ras Al.
Good afternoon everyone, I am Rida Taju from Scholars Indian School. I am a 9th grader and I study in Ras Al Khaimah, UAE.
Good.
Thank you.
Sir Nandana.
Sir Ashi.
Yeah. Harini can start the presentation. Harini is in. Introduce yourself and then start your presentation.
Yeah, okay.
You introduce yourself and start. You must finish in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Now 4 minutes gone.
Yeah. Okay, my name is Harini and I live in Dubai, UAE. I'm from 8th grade and I study in GSS private school. My topic is conservation of plants and animals. The ecosystem. The ecosystem is a biological community of interacting species. There are 9 types of ecosystems, which are desert, grassland, freshwater, marine, tropical, temperate deciduous, taiga, and tundra. The term ecosystem was coined by Sir Arthur George Stemsley, and the study of ecosystem is called ecology. Tropical rainforest. The largest tropical rainforest is the Amazon rainforest, which is 5.5 million square kilometers. There's a lot of thick vegetation, mostly evergreen. The leaves block sunlight, and the high temperatures make the soil very nutritious. As a result, many species live in the tropical rainforest. Temperate deciduous forest. Deciduous trees are trees that lose their leaves during the autumn and winter. There are many hardwood trees like oak, maple, chestnut, and hickory, and mostly animals like deer, bear, wolves, and squirrels live in temperate deciduous forests. The northeastern United States is an example of a temperate deciduous forest. Taiga. Conifer trees, evergreen trees that produce cones, are present in the taiga rainforest, and there are many wetlands, and mostly all trees produce pine and hemlock. Tundra. The plant life grows very less, and many species of birds and mammals migrate or travel to different places during the very harsh winter. Caribou are well known for migrating. Thaw is the result of warming up. It's the melting of ice or snow. Northern Canada and northern Russia are largely tundra ecosystems. Deserts. Plants such as sagebrush and cacti have developed adaptations to allow them to conserve and store water during dry spells, and deserts are known to be very dry and have very less rainfall. Animals such as camels have learned to live here, and snakes and small mammals have adapted to burrow underground to escape from the heat. Grassland ecosystems. Light rains allow minerals to remain in the surface, and shallow-rooted grasses grow well over here. Mammals tend to be swift-moving herbivores or predators. The Midwestern United States and much of Central Africa are grassland ecosystems. Temperate rainforest. The climate of temperate rainforest is mild, with annual temperatures averaging 50 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Coniferous trees are dominant, although many deciduous trees also grow here. That includes lakes, ponds, rivers, etc., and has very less salt content compared to marine ecosystems. Marine ecosystems are ecosystems that include seas and oceans, and they have more salt content and a greater biodiversity. The importance of ecosystems. Interactions. Every living organism has their own role in the ecosystem. So every living organism within an ecosystem interacts in many ways. Size. Ecosystems vary in size. They can be like a forest, a puddle, or a river. Biomes consist of several ecosystems, which we just talked about, like forests. Ecosystem disturbances. So a small change in an ecosystem can harm or do good to the entire ecosystem and causes changes throughout the entire chain. And pollution including land pollution, water pollution, and air pollution poses a serious threat to ecosystems. So knowing about how it threats the ecosystem is important. The importance of protecting the ecosystem. We all know that pollution has caused a lot of trouble for us and the ecosystem and other species. If the degradation of the environment continues, then nor other organisms or the humans would survive. Every living organism has its own importance in nature, and afforestation and reforestation come under ecosystem protection. So growing more and more trees can help in reducing the global temperatures. But if the global warming becomes more, then it will cause harm to the entire universe, or at least the earth we live in. Many cultures are directly associated with the ecosystem. Thus, they treat animals and plants locally to their area as sacred. There are many plant species which are still to be discovered, and we need to allow researchers to learn how to protect those species and the species that already exist. How can we conserve our ecosystem? Harsh chemicals in typical store-bought cleaners can get into the water supply and leak into ecosystems when disposed of. We can use cleaners such as distilled vinegar and baking soda, or purchase green cleaning products which are more helpful for the environment. And you can create separate bins in your house and label them for glass, plastic, aluminum, and paper. Take your bins to the nearest recycling bin. Rather than using disposable paper towels, use reusable towels that can be washed rather than thrown away. There are numerous ways to cut back on how to pollute, thus reducing our carbon print. Take showers rather than baths, turn down your air conditioning heater, and try to use transportation that pollutes less. Choose foods that are locally grown, as pesticides can harm the environment, and the transportation of these foods pollute the environment. Biodiversity. What is it? Biodiversity is the communication of a biological diversity. It reflects the number, variety, and variability of living organisms. There are 3 levels of biodiversity. Genetic, which refers to the total number of genetic characteristics in a species, and species refers to a variety of species in an ecosystem or a region, and ecosystem refers to how many ecosystems or the variety of ecosystems in a zone. Flora and fauna. Our world is full of living and non-living things. The 2 basic scientific terms used for these things are abiotic and biotic. If you want to go green, you have to understand them. So the term abiotic relates to all physical objects such as mountains and rivers, and biotic relates to flora and fauna, which are the living things. Flora. The word flora means plant life. This word comes from the flora, the goddess of flowers and plants. It was a symbol of flowers, nature, and fertility in Roman mythology. Flora is a Latin word which relates to the collective plant life. It refers to all the plant species that exist in this world. Flora includes plants that once grew and which are growing right now. Fauna. The fauna is about animal life, and fauna was the goddess of the Roman religion. Romans believed that this goddess nurtures all living creatures of the world. Avifauna is a term given to birds. Piscifauna is for all fishes, and microfauna are for all microorganisms. Biosphere Reserve. Biosphere Reserve is an area of land or water that is protected to support the animal species and conserve the ecosystem. There are 2 others, which are national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. The Red Data book The Red Data Book is a public document which is created for endangered and rare species of plants, animals, and fungi. And it is an important tool for the conservation of the ecosystem as it keeps track of how many species are there, the biodiversity level, and how they're conserving it. These are the classifications that the IUCN, who are the group that created the Red Data Book, have made it into, which is extinct, EX, extinct in the wild, EW, critically endangered, CR, endangered, EN, vulnerable, VU, near threatened, NT, least concerned, LC, data deficient, DD, and not evaluated as NE. Deforestation. Deforestation, clearance, clear cutting or clearing is the removal of a forest or stand of trees from land, which is then converted into a non-forest use. Causes. It has human and natural causes. For wood, cultivation, house, and paper are a few human causes, and drought and forest fire are natural causes. Often deforestation occurs when forested areas cut and cleared to make way for agriculture and grazing. And there are just 4 commodities that are responsible for this, according to the Union of Concerned Scientists, which is beef, soy, palm, oil, and wood products. Effects: floods, drought, low sea level, bad climate, global warming, and desertification are a few effects of deforestation. How can we help? Reforestation is one of the best ways to help for what we have done, which is deforestation and harming the environment. Developing alternatives to deforestation can help decrease the need for tree clearing too. Examples: the desire of expanding the amount of land used for agriculture can be reduced by using practices that involve new technologies and crops that might diminish the need to have more land. Everyone can do their part to curb deforestation. We can buy certified food products, go paperless whenever possible, or reuse paper, limit our consumption of products that use palm oil, and plant a tree whenever possible. An example for bad weather created due to deforestation was the recent Australia bushfire. As there were less trees to reduce the smoke content that was released into the air, it created its own weather, leading thunder strikes around the forest, uprising more forest fires around the area. Why do we learn about the ecosystem? There are many reasons, but I'll be talking about 2. Understanding the links between species and correctly identifying plants and animals. We are ourselves a key species in almost all ecosystems on the planet. It won't be possible for us to conserve and restore everything, and so with an understanding of the ecosystem comes a responsibility for taking hard decisions when debating how or even whether we should conserve a particular ecosystem, species, or plant. Knowledge of place of that species is an important thing. How is ecosystem related to civil service? Now here there's a wheel which shows supporting, provisioning, regulating, and cultural. How is this related is that civil service, it includes serving the country. For that we need to support by knowing how many natural resources and products are available. Provisioning, we need to know how much is given to the society and how much the society needs. Regulating, by knowing how much natural resources are left and how much we've used, and what is the average amount that has to be used. And cultural, as I spoke before, many ecosystems are directly or indirectly related to our culture, and the animals and trees are taken care as sacred things. For that, we need to know all the cultures and the natural resources needed for those cultures. Thank you.
Good, Harini. Well done in time. But you were almost reading the slides. Presentation is something different from reading. So it must be more live. Can you define in one definition of ecosystem? Harini, you can come on video.
Ecosystem is an area of interacting species and plants who are directly or indirectly dependent on each other.
That's it.
I need to explain all about ecosystem?
No, ecosystem has got only two portions. One is the biological community, that is what you see, the living and organisms and all that comes in one. Second one is the physical environment. So you missed out physical environment while defining.
Of the mountains and rivers?
Physical environment means the whole earth and its atmosphere and all that. So while defining, now I have defined all the living being, earth and the atmosphere around, which makes the life a world. World is the interaction. So actually ecosystem is what defines the life in the world. When you tell like this, it comes from your heart. There are two components. One is the living being and the environment. So you have to speak like a teacher, but it's not report reading. And it's not for Harini alone, it's for all the presenters. When you read what is it, it can be like a textbook, anybody can read. As a presenter, when you present, the impact has to come that you are presenting it from your heart. And reading is not to be done when you are presenting. It should look at the slides which leads you to speak something. The PPT which you present is only pointers for you to remember what you should speak in the sequence. Content is there, but presentation skill need to be improved a lot. Okay, good. Well done within the time, it's good. As a starter, it is good. Okay, you have a good job done, but have to do improvement is necessary. Ashi Gupta, is she around? Ashi
Yes,
Gupta?
sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
start.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Just a second. So can you see me?
Yeah, we are seeing you. That's not enough. We want your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, hello everyone. My name is Ashi, and today I'm going to present on the topic computer programming or coding.
Where are you from?
So, ever since I'm from UAE, Ras Al Khaimah.
Yeah. Which grade?
Okay. So, yes, sir. So, ever since the father of computer programming, Dennis Ritchie, invented the computer programs, our world has become very, very big with technology, and it has come a lot closer, and also it has given us a lot of new technology. But first, before moving on to the other slides, we first need to know what is coding. What is a code? Why do we need to learn it? I will explain everything to you. Now, let me give you first an example. If your father gives you money on your birthday and tells you can buy whatever you want with it. So, when you get the money, you go buy your favorite books, your toys, or something to eat. It's your wish. So, when you do that, you have basically started a basic system of coding. Your father fed you an information, gave you the money, the requirement to complete that task, and you bought whatever you wanted. So you performed the task and completed it. That is basically coding. So you are writing a set of instructions for a computer to perform a set of tasks to make your work easy and to save more time. Now, in this whole process, operating system acts as a mediator between you and the computer. You have to remember that because in lower classes you might have studied that computer cannot understand English language, or hard disk, your CPU cannot understand your language, and that it only understands binary, which is ones and zeros. And your brain actually works the same way. It processes information and then it does out the required task. Now, as to why we should learn coding, it's simple. It improves a lot of skills, and the first one, most noticeable skill, is maths and literacy skills. For any programmer, whether in any field of technology, communication skills is a must, and you have to have it so that you can communicate your ideas to the whole world, and also to solve problem solving skills, not only in this field but but in real life as well, whether for applying logics. And this is where it also leads to another plus point: analytical knowledge and reasoning skills. You analyze what problem do you have in front of you. If coding, you analyze what error has gone in that code, where did it go, how can I solve it. You have to apply logic and then you have to solve it, and it gradually increases your reasoning skills as well. Now this can be applied to real life as well. You get a problem, you analyze based on logic what your problem is and how do I solve it, and your reasoning skills will gradually increase by it. Creative and innovative thinking. Now this is by far the most important skill you will need to excel in the field of technology. Creativeness is what everybody seeks. You cannot come to the field of technology without being creative. Everyone needs to have innovation in their ideas, in their developments, so that people will acknowledge your ideas and then you will be recognized. Without creativeness, you cannot solve problems and perform codes. You have to have creativeness in it. And also, it also improves your visual thinking. In some subjects in our school, we require visual thinking. For example, in maths, you learn about geometry. You need to visualize that first, visualize the shapes before actually getting to know what the problem is. The same way with coding. You have to visualize this problem in real life, and then you have to solve it based on your creativeness. So that is one more plus point. It adds to your visual thinking capacity. And it is also needed for running simple tasks smoothly. Now, if you get a problem or error with your electrical appliances in your house, you will need it for simple daily tasks. Because in the future, the technology is going to go so high that you will have to know at least basic coding to perform simple things in your daily life, because it will become a necessity in the future, and students will have to learn basic coding in schools. Now, as you can see in this graph, there are different types of programming languages. What are programming languages? They're just different types of programs that do the same work, solve your problem easily. They're just different problems that give solutions to different problems. Now, most of the top 10 in-demand languages in 2020 are these things and these languages. And as you can see that Python is on top of the list. It is very much required. Why is it required? I'll discuss it in the next slide. But first, we can get to know why are these in such a huge demand. Now, first, as you can see, Java, this is another programming language, and why is it required? Is because it is useful. If you want to create a website, it is useful to put content in it, to put images, your audio, video files, putting any content basically in a website. You will need this software, and it also helps in creating games and software apps. Now, JavaScript is basically another version of this, and it helps in web development, creating of a website. This is mostly used in businesses and to excel in the business technology. And C# is another program, and it is mostly used in creating Windows desktop apps and games. And Python, as you can see, this is more in demand in 2020. The reason it is in such a huge demand is because of its simplicity in programming. Now, in Java, you have to write a set of instructions, a set of codes, which you have to remember and which are supposed to be written that way. Python is basically a very easy version of this. If suppose you want to write hello world in your website, you will have to type so many lines just to type that single hello world program in your website in Java. But in Python, you can just type print hello world. That's it. Your work is done, and it's so easy that you can use it in any field. I will come to that later. Now, C++, it is another programming language. It is due to its very good graphics. It mostly used in games, in creating game software, PC games, you name it. It is almost used in all types of games. Now, C language forms a basic structure for all these languages that you see here. This C language was the first basic structure of language created long back, and this has been a basic structure for all these types of languages you see here. They may have a different name, they may have a different look to it, but then they all have the same base, which is C language. PHP. Now, it is another type of programming language which actually uses in websites. If you have a very, very heavy data, you handle very heavy data for data analysis and all, like graphs or pie charts. PHP is used to handle all of this. And now Ruby. Why is Ruby used? It's because of its to create web apps, and it is also very similar to Python, same structure. And Go is also able to solve very hard problems in websites or maybe even in programming languages. And Perl is another type for system administration and all of that. Now, we will move on to Python. As you saw before, Python is really the highest in demand language. But why is it so? I already told, because it's easy to type on it. It's easy to give instructions in Python because it is similar to what you talk in daily life. If suppose, that's what the example I gave of print hello world. It is very easy to type. You can just type in the normal way you speak, and then you can get your work done. And it can be used in any field, you name it. In website development, you can have Python, and it will help you build a beautiful website. You can have it in data analytics. You have huge amounts of data. You can analyze it clearly. Data engineering, you can have it. Everything over here, which I have said, even in game development. In games, Python is also used for programming to give inputs. And so it can be used in any of these fields, and there are more fields, I didn't add them, but it can be used in a lot of fields. Now, it is these programming skills are also used in big companies for mostly these ones that you see here, which I've already explained what they do. Google, right? You search your daily, you search your information on Google. You perform. You see videos over there. You see pictures. Google is also run by these. Almost from all of these programming languages like Java, Python, Prolog, PHP, etc. And Apple, your iPhone developing country, iPhone developing company, it also develops your laptops, your iPhones and all, and it also needs Java and Python to do all of that. But then in Apple, they use another type of programming language called Objective-C, which basically supports your Macintosh operating system. And YouTube, you go to YouTube to watch videos, right? YouTube also uses Java and Python and also PHP because it stores lots and lots of videos, like millions and millions of videos. And so it needs PHP to handle that big, so much data. Amazon, you go to Amazon to buy a product. You go to Amazon to buy a product. In the background, they see your search history. They take whatever you searched, and then they go on a data analytics on the basis of what you searched, and then they count their sales based on that. Microsoft Windows, they use Java and Python and same all of this PHP, Go, Perl, and all of this. Even Samsung already comes with the Android operating system in hand, but it also uses the same programming languages. And also, you might have heard about AIs, right? Google and many other companies have created their own AIs. For example, in the picture you see right here, this is a Google Home, an assistant created by Google, which helps you in daily things such as taking a schedule, setting up your calendars, or you can even ask some things to that assistant to solve your problems. Now, this has also run in the same programming languages as I told you already. Cortana, another Microsoft Windows assistant, also runs in the same. Even Alexa, Amazon Alexa, and Bixby in Samsung, with the exception of Siri, who runs in Objective-C programming languages, but also uses bits of Java and Python. Now, when I talk about AI, I cannot forget the latest invention, which is the robot Sophia. Now, I'll give you an example of it. AI is taking over the whole world. It started coming out to people in the late 1990s, and ever since that, it has been increasing devastatingly fast. And AI is everywhere, and by that, I want to introduce another topic to you, which is Internet of Things. What is that? Internet of Things is nothing but your daily material things around your house connected to the internet. For example, let me tell you my example. I have a light switch connected to my mobile, and then from that I can control the color of the light, the brightness of it. That is basically connected to the internet. The same thing is your phone, your laptop, and even your smart refrigerator, your watch, your smartwatch, your fitness watch. It is all connected to the internet, and it is also known as Internet of Things. Now, one feature of AI that I guess most of you all probably know is data analytics. I will explain it to you anyway. Data analytics is when, suppose you go to YouTube and watch your video. Your video gets saved into your history. Why? Because YouTube, they go through what videos you watch. Even Google, they go through what searches you've made in the past few months or years, and then they go through your data and they recommend feed to you based on recommend news articles. They recommend you videos based on the things you've searched. And so there is also a thing called machine learning. Now, remember when Sophia was made, and she was made to speak in many open mics? She didn't know how to speak at first. But then, when she saw how humans interacted with each other, how they laughed, their accent, what language they spoke, she learned that, and then she started speaking out. That is when machine learns. Your assistant in your phone, for example. I have Google Assistant in my phone. In that, when you speak to your Google Assistant for the first time, they recognize your voice. If you have face lock option in your phone, they see your iris, they see your face, and that recognizes your face. So your phone recognizes your voice, your face, and your accent, depends on where you're from. And then your machine learns to recognize you through your visuals and all. So now you have heard about Sophia. She's a robot created in America, and the same programming languages have been used to create her for Java and C++ and all of this. But she can communicate with us. So there are other programming languages for handling conversations as well. For example, AIML, JavaScript and all. AIML is for basic conversations like, hi, how are you? Do you want to have coffee? And all of these types. JavaScript is a little more advanced version for speaking paragraphs and all. Now, I don't know if any one of you has played video games, but they do require programming languages. These are one of the most used programming languages. The C++ is in the highest level because, as I mentioned, it has really good graphics card and it provides good graphics for the games. And for example, as you can see, these gaming devices, they have been created in the same programming languages. But what does this teach about future? It teaches us that learning has no end. No matter how many programming languages you can learn, there is still more to programming than just learning its languages. There are many fields in programming, and it will be impossible to learn each and every one of them. You can be good at a specific field, but you can never know everything about other fields. Now, and it also teaches us competition. There are too many competitions in this world. each and every month or each and every week, a new form of technology, a new form of a technology or a computing device comes up, and then you have a lot of competition with it, and people are intrigued by it. So it teaches us that the world has a lot of competition, and you cannot just stick to one part and say that I know everything. And also it provides you the freedom to choose any career with basic coding knowledge. In the future, as you know, basic coding will become a very big necessity for every person to know, and without that, no one can really go into any field. For example, it may be biology, it may be maths, it may be social, humanities, literacy, you name it. Every single career will need you to provide some basic coding knowledge. And I would like to conclude with a quote: the more you know, the more you realize you know nothing, which is by Socrates, which basically means what I said just now, that the technology is a very vast topic and you know very little of it. Even if you learn everything in programming, you should still have a good mindset of it, that every other field, I cannot know anything in every other field. I can be good at one field, but I always have to learn more. Thank you.
Well done, Ashi. Good. Too much of knowledge, too much of data. But let me ask you one question. Which is the other subject other than computer science where these two terminologies of coding and program? Code and program is used in some other.
Other than technology?
Other than computer technology, code and programming. These are the two words which you used maximum number of times in the presentation. So let me ask you, in which other subject these two words come? Coding, code, programming, these two words.
Sir, I believe it is mostly in science.
No,
I believe it is
science is too large. Everything is science. Computer is also computer science. Mathematics is mathematical science. Social science. So I want to know which subject you have come across this word code and genetic. Heard about this genetical coding?
Biology.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, biology.
So do you know a relation between computer programming, computer coding and genetical coding and genetical programming?
Yes, sir. I think that there is a thing called genetic, like you combine two species into one, and then like you hybrid species. When you create it, you need some sort of coding, I guess.
The whole AI, artificial intelligence, came by studying how the neurons work. So the neurons is the starting. And you talked about Java. There were few mistakes in your way you spoke, because probably you must have learned it in that. Java is not a software. Java like software, you said. It's a tool given for you to work.
Yes, sir, actually, I think I said it.
Yeah, across different platforms. When you talk about Java or Python, what you have to tell is it is versatile, it is vibrant, it can work across different platforms. That is good enough. Okay, well done, good job, good girl. Yeah, now we have the next presenter.
So it's me.
Yeah, start.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nandana. I am from Dubai and I'm studying in 10th grade in GEMS Modern Academy. So today I'll be teaching you all a very important system in our body, and that is the circulatory system. And specifically, I'll be taking you through the details of the heart, our organ heart. So what is circulatory system? It's a system of circulation. Circulation as in the movement of materials all around the body. And this material could include blood, lymph, cells, oxygen, carbon dioxide, minerals, waste, hormone, etc. Now I'm going to take you through the most important component of the circulatory system, which is the blood. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. And by fluid we mean the blood is again divided into two parts: the cellular structure and the non-cellular or the fluid structure. it's also called the connective tissue. Why? Because it connects the various organs of the body. Now, the cellular structure of the blood consists of three main cells: the RBCs, which is the red blood cells, the WBCs, which is the white blood cells, and the platelets. The RBCs are the most important of the three, technically because they combine with oxygen and carbon dioxide and help in the circulation of these two gases all around the body. At number 2, we have WBCs, and this is again important because they are disease-fighting component of the blood. Now, when you have fever or you have cold or any other kind of diseases, you're not the WBC count in your blood increases, and that's how the level is. At number 3, we have platelets, which are not exactly cells, but they're fragments of WBCs and RBCs. The old worn out WBCs and RBCs, they break down and those fragments form platelets. Now, what exactly makes the blood fluid? That's the fourth component of blood, which is plasma. Now, if you see, I don't know if you can see my laser pointer. Can you see the laser pointer?
Yeah,
I hope you
visible.
can.
Yeah.
So if you see the straw-colored yellow liquid, that's exactly what is plasma. This holds all the cells together and helps the blood to become a fluid structure. Now to the top left, if you can see, I've given the size of each cell. RBCs are 6 to 8 micrometer, WBCs 12 to 17 micrometer, platelets 2 to 4 micrometers. Now as I told before, platelets are fragments of cells, and that's exactly why they are the smallest in number. WBCs are biggest or the largest because they are the disease-fighting agents, and they perform a process called phagocytosis, which involves in the WBC becoming enlarged and engulfing the bacteria or the pathogens. RBCs are biconcave in shape. If you see, there's a disc-like structure. It's lumen in between, like semi-lumen. That's exactly what is called biconcave, and this helps in the easy diffusion and also increases the surface area for the combination of gases. WBCs, if you see below, there are 5 types of WBCs. Now, each WBC has a different shape. They're amoeboid. I mean, they change shapes whenever they want so that they can perform phagocytosis. And platelets don't really have a definite shape. They are fragments, so they are basically cut into different pieces. You can't really define the shape of a platelet. Now, if you see in the bottom, as I mentioned, WBCs are divided into 5 different types. The basophil, eosinophil, neutrophil, monocyte, and lymphocyte. Now, if you take a minute, you'll see and read through this carefully. You'll see that there are 3 fils and 2 cytes, as in the suffix. The fils are the granulocytes. Basically, they perform the phagocytosis. They have clear, distinguished lobes, as in arms, for performing phagocytosis. While cytes, these are agranulocytes. They're just there to ensure and to just keep a check on the increase in bacteria or virus in the body. So this is a table which will give you a clear understanding of the different types of WBCs. I'll just be skimming through it. So the first one, neutrophil, have got multi-lobes. That means they have got many lobes. It could be 4, it could be 5, and it could be any number more than 2. Second is eosinophil, which are bilobed. If you see they're distinguished and they've got 2 lobes. Third is a basophil, which may have 2 or 3 lobes. And lymphocytes and monocytes, they don't really have a distinguished feature called lobes. If you see the lymphocyte, now if you talk about the lobes are basically the nucleus of the cell. And for lymphocyte, it doesn't really have a distinguished lobe. It just has a deep staining material, which is the nucleus, and it is located in the peripheral of the cell. It's not in the center. And next we have monocyte, whose nucleus is kidney shaped, just like stomata or kidney beans or the rajma you have. Next we have blood vessels. Now the blood, it can't really flow in the whole of the body without a structure which sends the blood to different parts of the body. This structure is the blood vessel. Now the blood vessels are again divided into three. And if you see, our blood can have it can be pure blood or impure blood, but scientifically we term it as oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood has got more of oxygen and they are pure, and that's what is used by different organs to perform their needs. The second part, that's the deoxygenated blood, they have more of carbon dioxide, and which is sent to the heart by different parts of the body. Now, carrying the oxygenated blood, we have arteries, but mind it, not all arteries carry oxygenated blood. So when you're defining an artery or a vein or a capillary, you won't really define it according to the type of blood it carries, but you have to define it from the position, like from where to where is the blood carried. Like for arteries, you have to say that it's a blood vessel which sends the blood from heart to different parts of the body. Because if you define it in a way that it carries oxygenated blood, you may go wrong, because there's one such artery which does not carry oxygenated blood. It carries deoxygenated blood, and I'll be taking you through that later. For veins, it carries blood to the heart, from different parts of the body to the heart, and capillaries is like the medium of exchange of the two types of blood. Now, arteries they carry blood from the heart to different parts of the body, and heart being a small organ there needs to be a lot of pressure for the pumping of blood, and that's exactly why the pressure in the heart arteries is more. Veins have got a comparatively low pressure because you're carrying the blood from different parts of the body to the heart, and which does not really require much pressure. Third, we have capillaries, which have got pressure that is higher than veins. Like the blood pressure is higher than veins but lesser than arteries, and this is because it's a medium of exchange, so not much pressure is again required. It's a transition mode from artery to veins. Now in the top right corner, if you see, it shows a third distinguished feature. The first is the artery, which carries the oxygenated blood, but not all arteries, please keep that in mind. Then the arteries branch out to several structures called arterioles, which further branch out to form the capillaries. Now the capillaries is, as I mentioned, is a medium of exchange. So it has the venules. It connects the arteries as well as veins. So the capillaries further combine to form venules, which further combine to form the veins. So venules and arterioles are nothing but branched or smaller arteries and veins. So we have three structures mainly in veins and arteries, which make up the arteries and veins. First is tunica adventitia, then we have tunica media and tunica intima. Tunica adventitia is nothing but the collagen fibers which supports the flow of blood. Tunica media conducts the blood in a particular direction. It's a smooth muscle, and tunica intima is the endothelial cells, not the epithelial but endothelial. Now this just maintains the structure of the entire blood vessel. Capillaries don't have all the three because they are smallest. They are smallest in thickness and width, and hence they need no pressure. For the flow to conduct the flow of the blood. Hence they just have the tunica intima, and they're minute. They're literally minute. They just diffuse gases and blood. That's it. So veins have a feature called valves, because veins have deoxygenated blood generally, and they should not be pumped back into the arteries. They should not be flowing behind, and that's why they have valves to control the flow of blood and to prevent the clogging of blood backwards. So below in my my bottom right, you have the different thicknesses of the lumen. Lumen is basically the empty space after all the layers of the arteries. So arteries have got the smallest, not the smallest, but lumen that is smaller than the veins but bigger than the capillaries. Capillaries have the smallest lumen, while the veins have the biggest lumen. Next, this is the key feature, which is the heart. Now, if you see, you may get confused when you read the words right atrium towards your left and the left atrium towards your right. But technically, if you speak, this you need to imagine a person standing in front of you when you draw the diagram of a heart, and hence your left will be the right. It's basically lateral inversion, and your right will be the left of the person. So when you're drawing the diagram of a heart, the right part of the heart would be your left, towards your left, and the left part of the heart will be towards the right. Now the right part of the heart, that's basically towards your left, will carry the deoxygenated blood or the impure blood, while the left part carries the purest form of blood. Now, if you see, there are certain terms like superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein. This is what exactly will lead to a lot of confusion. So it's necessary to pay attention. If you see, the superior vena cava is basically a vein. It's a type of vein which carries blood from all the different parts of the body, and that pumps the blood right into the right atrium. So after it gets pumped into the right atrium, for it to travel to the right ventricle, before it travels, there's something called the tricuspid valve. This valve is necessary to prevent the backflow of blood from right ventricle to right atrium when the ventricles contract, and to prevent the further mixing of blood. Now from right ventricle, since it is deoxygenated blood, for the blood to get oxygenated, they have no choice. I mean, there is no such deep cleaning system in the heart, and hence they have to send the blood to the lungs. Now to the lungs, it's sent by an artery called pulmonary artery. Now if you see, I mentioned before that not all arteries carry pure blood. The one exception over here is the pulmonary artery. It carries deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs. In the lungs, it undergoes further oxidation of the blood. The blood becomes oxygenated, and then from the lungs, it further comes to the left atrium through the pulmonary vein. The pulmonary vein is a vein which carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium of the heart. Now over here, from the left atrium, the blood is now oxygenated. It further travels to the left ventricle, and before coming to the left ventricle, there's something called the mitral valve, or it's also known as a bicuspid valve. Now, once it comes to the left ventricle, for the blood to go into different parts of the body, now we have oxygenated blood. For the blood to go to different parts of the body, we have an artery called aorta, which is the biggest artery. Now, aorta further branches into different kinds of arteries, and then all the blood is traveled to different parts of the body. Now, even for the pulmonary artery, pulmonary artery and aorta, they have certain valves called the semilunar valve. Now, this is present to, again, as I mentioned, valves are always present to prevent the mixing of blood, or to even prevent the blood from flowing when there's a contraction happening. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Now see, if you see here, there's the tricuspid valve and the mitral valve. That's the difference. The tricuspid valve has 3 cusps or 3 dissections, which should further help in the easy movement of blood, while the mitral valve has 2 cusps. Now the mechanical valves you see below and the biological valves, basically mechanical valves are those which are present in the pacemaker. When a person gets heart attack or his heart is no longer functioning, there's a device called pacemaker which is set. And that exactly is what contains the mechanical valves. Human heart does not contain mechanical valves. Next, we have the double circulation. So as I mentioned, from the heart, from the right ventricle of the heart, the pulmonary artery carries the blood, deoxygenated blood to the lungs. And then from the lungs, it's carried on to the left atrium after purification to the heart. So this entire system of circulation is divided into 2. Pulmonary circulation, where the blood is oxygenated, and systemic circulation, where the blood is used. Systemic circulation is the system of circulation of blood between the heart and the different parts of the body, while pulmonary circulation consists of the circulation of blood from heart to different parts, to the lungs, not to any other part, but to the lungs, just for the purification of blood. And why do we need double circulation? So as we all know, to we are homeothermal or we are warm-blooded animals. We are not cold-blooded like frogs. So we need more energy, and we need more supply for energy. We need good supply of oxygen. So we can't wait for the blood to get oxygenated on its own. We can't wait for that long, or we will die out if we don't have this double circulation happening. That to maintain the body temperature, to maintain the energy levels and constant supply of oxygen, we have the double circulation. Now, this is the cardiac cycle, which is another very important sector. Cardiac cycle has got three different parts. The first part is the cardiac diastole, which means both the chambers, the atria and the ventricle, both are in relaxation mode. Yeah, they both are in relaxation mode. And the second cycle is the atrial systole. So immediately when the atria is contracting, the ventricles have to relax. Otherwise, they can't receive blood. So you just have to remember one term. The next term comes automatically in your mind. The third term is atrial diastole, which also causes ventricle systole. So basically, the atria relax and the ventricles contract. So the blood moves from the ventricles to the different parts of the body. And the entire chain, like your blood pumping, happens in 0.8 seconds. You can't even imagine. So this pulse, when you, how doctors check the heartbeat, it's like a traditional method of checking your heartbeat or whether the person was alive was in the form of pulse. Right now we have the stethoscope and all, but before there used to be a system of pulse checking. And if you place your right thumb on your left artery, where it's more prominent than in your right hand, or in this region, you can check your pulse, and you need to check it for 1 minute, count the number of heartbeats in 1 minute. This is a sphygmomanometer, which is used for the checking of blood pressure. And I'll be just skipping through this because I think I'm already running out of time. But coagulation of blood is nothing but clotting of blood. If you're injured, how the blood clots. So there's something called thromboplastin in the blood platelets that help in the clotting of blood. And we have the blood group, how what all bloods can be received, and why O negative blood is a universal donor and AB positive is a universal recipient. So basically, there's something called antigen on your RBCs. What decides your blood group are the antigens present on the RBCs. If you have A antigen, you have A blood group, and you have B antibody. So antigens are basically proteins that help in developing your immune system, and antibodies are the outer substances which combats with the antigens. So blood group A has got A antigen and B antibody. Now, since then blood group B has got B antigen and A antibody, AB has got both antigens but no antibody, because if we had the antibodies present, then the antigen would attack and soon our blood would die out. Hence, we don't have any antibody in AB. AB people don't have any antibody. Then for O, we don't have any antigen, but we have both antibodies. Now, if you see, studying the blood groups is best in the form of tables. So if you see, we have antigen A on A blood group and antibody B. So this means that technically A blood group people can receive only from A and O. Because if they receive from B, then the antibody A present in B would combat with the antigen A. And further, that's exactly why we have different distinguishing features. Then there's something called Rh positive. Until now, I only mentioned the A, B, and O blood groups. I didn't mention any positive or negative blood groups. Now, the positivity and the negativity of the blood group is decided by a factor called Rh. Now, when the Rh, it's called Rh because it was first seen in rhesus monkey. Now, Rh positive blood are those blood groups in which the Rh factor is present, and when the Rh factor is absent, we don't have the we have a negative blood group. I think I'm running out of time, so I'll stop right here. I hope you all have understood and hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Good, Nandana, well done.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. But too much of information.
Yes, it's a vast topic.
Yeah. There are beautiful videos available in the series of things to understand. I have given an assignment based on, while your presentation, it's reminded me when I used to give this to 11th and 12th children, to give audio to some video, mute the video, and then you must be able to speak as the video runs. That will be a great learning. Yeah? Good, well
Yes,
done.
sir. I'll definitely
Yeah.
try that.
Yeah. Now next presenter Satvika.
Yes, sir, I'm ready, sir.
Yeah, start. And all the presenters, it is not how much you dump is not important, because the world has got a lot of information. But whatever you put forward, precisely make everybody else to remember those points. That is more important.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Satvika from Hyderabad. So in this, I would like to present my presentation and I would be discussing about WTO, World Trade Organization, anti-dumping, market economy and non-market economy. So firstly, let me give brief description about WTO. Yeah, WTO, World Trade Organization. This is actually formed on 1st January 1995. If you see the logo of WTO, it indicates that this symbol is actually a hint of the globe, and this is suggested by 6 graphic arts symbolizing world trade with member nations, and this is meeting to 4 strategic alliances. Now, coming to the headquarters of WTO, this is in Center William Rapid, Geneva, Switzerland, which is in Europe. Next, the present WTO Director General is Roberto Azevedo. He's from Brazil. Coming to the history of WTO, actually WTO is the successor of GATT. The full form of GATT is General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. So this was initially established in 1948 in the same place, Geneva. The objective of GATT is almost similar from that of WTO, that is for free trade and free and fair trade among the member countries of GATT GATT. This is a very important topic, that is WTO principles. So these are the principles. First one, most favored nation. So most favored nation, this is the first article of GATT as well. That means this was actually taken from GATT GATT. So what does most favored nation means? Most favored nation, it is actually the treatment of all the countries equally. There should not be any discrimination between the member countries or trading partners. So that is most favored nation. Second one comes to second principle, that is national treatment. Coming to national treatment, the same rules and regulations which are applied to our domestic goods under domestic rules and regulations, the same rules and regulations should be applied for the imported goods as well. And there should not be any discrimination between domestic goods and imported goods. So this is indicated in national treatment. The third principle comes from freer trade. Freer trade in the sense or to completely abolish trade taxes so that the trading would be much easier. So come to find till where we can apply the taxes. If you see in the graph, this bound tariff is given by the WTO, and whatever taxes a country want to impose on another countries, that would be suggested by most favored nation, but at any cost we cannot go beyond the ceiling. Most favored nation cannot be beyond the ceiling, and preferential. As per some agreements, that is preferential agreements, we can even lower the tax compared to MFN applied. So next one, anti-dumping. So now I'll be coming to the exceptions of WTO. Anti-dumping is one of the most important exception in present day situations. That means when we impose anti-dumping duties, we need not to follow about the binding tariff rules. Binding tariff, which is also known as bound tariff rate. Anti-dumping is imposed when is imposed on imported countries, the goods imported countries which actually follow dumping. So I would like to introduce the term dumping. Dumping in the sense, if the exporting countries export goods at an unfairly low price than that of their country goods, then that is called as dumping. So here I would like to give an example. For example, say China, the cost of 1 ton of steel in Chinese market, the cost of 1 ton of steel is say 1,000 rupees. And in case if the China government is exporting the same 1 ton of steel to India just for 900 rupees, then we call that as dumping. In such cases, we can impose anti-dumping duties. That means we can increase the amount of tax or duties on this exporting countries. So there may be a question, if the exporting country gives goods at an unfairly low price, then that would be very beneficial for the consumers here in the domestic country. Yes, but it have very long-term negative consequences as well. In case if some exporting country provides goods at a low price, then those goods will become very competitive in the importing country. And as they become very competitive, our domestic industries may completely shut down. And if that is the case, we have to completely rely on the imports which we get. So when we completely rely on imports, at a certain point of time, the exporting countries will increase the prices. Now, as I gave in the previous example, presently if it is giving for 900 rupees, in future when we are completely reliable on those goods, it may increase the cost for 1,500 rupees. Then that would be a negative consequence for us. And also, so the main purpose of anti-dumping duties is to protect our domestic industries. So this is an exception. Here we can impose anti-dumping duties even beyond the binding tariff rates. The next exemption is countervailing duties. The countervailing duties should be applied to those countries wherein the governments of the countries will provide subsidies for their industries. So in case if the government provides subsidies, providing subsidies may include like credit against taxes, loans, and direct cash payments, and sometimes even providing free electricity or something like that. So in such cases, the goods would become very cheaper and they become very competitive in the importing countries again. So again, the same consequences, the same cycle will be repeating. If the goods are very competitive, then the domestic industries would be shut down and the importing countries would face a lot of problems. So that's why WTO provides an exemption, that is countervailing duties. We can impose high taxes on such goods. Again, a question may arise, shouldn't the governments provide subsidies for their industries? Yes, the governments can provide, but not all the country governments. Only the underdeveloped countries can provide subsidies for their industries, but not the highly developing or highly developed countries. In case if any of the developed countries provide subsidies, then we can impose countervailing duties on those countries, on those country goods. So next, safeguarding measures. Safeguard measures is also an exception imposed by WTO. So when are we supposed to apply safeguard measures? This is actually a temporary measure we have to impose. And when there is lot of increase in import volume, and if there is lot of increase in import volume of a particular good which has never been till now, then in such cases, we, as domestic industries face problem, it is necessary to impose safeguard measures. And all import volume should be it should have caused a little damage for domestic industries. We should be able to prove that, and then we can apply safeguarding measures. So these are the few exemptions given by WTO. Next, this is a very important topic, market economy. I would be explaining now. So market economic country is a country in which the complete factors of production like land, labor, organization, technology, or even the cost of goods, investments, all these will be varying as per the marketing status. That means as per supply and demand, they will be varying. So that kind of situation is called market economy. So here if you see in market economy, there is lot of innovation, lower cost of goods as they will be changing as per demand and supply. And next, there will not be any direct or indirect control of government here. So business can be easily started, and then there will be an open competition in market economy. So an example of market economy country is India. There are many examples, India, America, and many European countries as well. So next one is non-market economy. So this non-market economic countries are countries wherein completely factors of production are directly or indirectly under the control of government. So and a best example of a non-market economy country is China. Apart from China, there are many countries like Vietnam, Bulgaria, Afghanistan, and many. So I would like to discuss about China because it is the current ongoing issue now. So all the banks in China are under the control of Communist Party. And also, if anyone wants to start a business, it should have a complete agreement with the government. And also land, labor, all these loans and all are provided only to certain industries and only to certain businesses which will be suggested by the government. Even the cost of goods in China are directly decided by the government. The business owners or industry owners will have no right to decide the cost of goods in China. So now China has a lot of disadvantage being a non-market economy. So let us see what is that. China actually joined in WTO in 2001 after many negotiations that China would be treated as a non-market economy only for 15 years. That means it started in WTO on 1st December 2001 and it would be accepted as non-market economy for 15 years. That means till 2016 1st December. But now we are in 2020. So China is demanding or asking WTO to be treated as a market economy. But WTO didn't accept that and we are still treating China as a non-market economy. None of the countries in WTO, including India, America, and no country is ready or willing to accept China as a market economy. The reason is in this past many years, it didn't show or it didn't file any relevant information proving itself as a market economy. So that's why we still treat China as a non-market economy. The main disadvantage is WTO told investigating authorities to completely neglect the prices and the cost which non-market economies show. So that means, as we have seen in the exceptions, anti-dumping duties. So for anti-dumping duties, investigating authorities should be informed that the cost of goods in the exporting countries is greater than what they import for importing countries. So Chinese government can vary the prices at any moment of time. So that's why investigating authorities neglect the prices which Chinese government or non-market economic countries show. So in such cases, there are a lot of chances and with very easy terms, the importing countries can apply anti-dumping duties on non-market economic countries. So that's why whatever the countries, mostly the countries which are importing goods from China are imposing anti-dumping duties on China. So that's a very negative consequence which China is facing at this right moment. So this is all about non-market economy. And next, US calling India a developed nation is no cause for celebration. So that means if we have seen in countervailing duties, only the underdeveloped or developing nations can provide subsidies for the domestic industries. So till last year, India is under the category of developing nations as per the US. But last year, US government declared India as a developed nation, and so from now onwards, we have no chances for providing subsidies to our domestic industries. And that's the reason we can't celebrate this moment, though we are a developed nation. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Satvika, good information. I hope everybody enjoyed it. But I have one basic question.
Yes, sir.
What is the difference between WTO and GATT?
Sir, GATT is actually just an agreement formed, and there is no much influence of it. And later, when WTO is a permanent body right now, GATT is just a temporary agreement between the member nations.
When did India join in GATT? Now don't
Sir,
guess.
I have no good idea.
Yeah, you should ask. It's not to get an answer. You must ask yourself. That should be the first question you should ask. We got independence in August. October we are ready to sign. It got implemented from 1948 January itself. I think it's January. And when did India become member of WTO?
Sir, 1948?
No. WTO itself did not come. That time it was GATT.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, whenever
GATT
you do these things, ask a question yourself so that you will know the time is also important. The WTO came into existence and then India signed in 1994 and became active in 1995. And do you know what is TRIPS? TRIPS, TRIPS.
Yes, sir. That is it is also a trade relating policies.
Yeah, so you should also know what is TRIP. That is because that is the rule which governs all our activities in WTO and GATT. Anyway, good effort, well done. All the 4 presenters today did very well. But only thing, we crossed the time. If you got 15 minutes to speak, you must prepare for 10 minutes. So don't dump too much information. And you know when the time is short, you must know how to make it faster. That's essential. So that you can finish in time and then entertain some questions. That will be always nice to get some questions and answer. Because questions are not to get an answer for you. See, how do I look at a presentation? I will ask you the date, time, comparison with something else. Right? So that way when you read, you also must be able to compare things and then study parallel. Okay? Good job done. All the presenters, starting from Harini to Satvika, all the presenters were really good. Anybody has got any quick question? Maybe 1 or 2 questions?
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Who is that?
I am Rida, sir.
Yeah. To whom?
So my question is to Nandana.
Yeah. Nandana is alive here?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah. Switch on your video, no problem. Yeah.
So my question is that what is tunica?
Tunica is nothing but fiber. It's muscle fiber. It's just the walls, the different walls. So there's the layer, it's called tunica adventitia, tunica media, and tunica intima. It's basically the layers of the blood vessels.
Nothing but is a phrase which you use which is insignificant. Don't use the word nothing but. It's important, right? Yeah. It is enough. We generally understand English is very good when you use less number of words. Unnecessary words to be removed. I want to just tell you, no. I want to tell you is enough. Just to tell you is not enough. It is nothing but, no. It is not nothing but. It is good enough. So that shows you are emphasizing. When you say nothing but, it shows it's not that important. No, it is all important. Yeah. Anybody else have got question? Good. Well done. Yeah.
I'm Rishika.
Yeah. Video on. When you want to speak, video on. Rishika, yes.
First in Nandana.
Yes, Rishika, go ahead.
What happens to the blood while we die?
What happens to the blood?
While we die?
Okay, that's a good question. But even that dies off. I mean, it just gets degenerated because blood mainly consists of the liquid part, but mainly it consists of the cellular. If you see, have you ever done a blood test?
Yeah, I have.
It's very thick, yeah. It's not like water. It's not loose like water, but it's very thick. So the cellular part does not get oxygen anymore. You're dying out. No more oxygen. No inhalation, exhalation. That dies out.
Okay.
So now what is left is the serum or the plasma.
Okay.
Now even gradually you don't have any hydration going. Like you're not taking water. So even that just dries off. That's it. And your body just left there as it is.
Rishika, don't ask what will happen to blood when we die. Anyone dies, right? So the question should be, what will happen when one dies? That one is the word to be used. And the answer is, the blood gets clotted.
Okay. No, but then why does it get clotted?
Because there is no life. The blood become a fluid only because of the agility, the movement. What will happen? The blood comes out of your body. It gets clotted outside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is liquid fluid because we have life inside. So once it comes out, it gets clotted. That is what will happen when the life is lost. It's a logical answer. You don't require biology to learn this.
Okay.
Yeah. Can all of you come on to video so that we can have a group photo? Quick, fast. All of your video on so that everybody will be on the group photo. Harini is not. Father Flame, have you not worn the dress or what? Nilima, now don't go for makeup. As it is, you must present. Jay Krishnan, even seniors, no problem, because you are parent of somebody, you can also come. Our great friend is there from Dubai, Jay Shankar, my cousin. Yeah, it's good enough. Anyway. So all the best. God bless you. Enjoy. We will wait for 20th. Jay Shankarji, do you have anything to say? Anybody? Otherwise, we'll call it a day. Thank you all of you for the wonderful presentation and your presence. I have given 2 assignments. Whenever I send a message, keep reading it thoroughly. Without reading, don't comment. That's essential. Right? When I said don't send a message, immediately you will send a message. Sir, I will not send a message. That itself is violating rule. Don't do that. Okay. Yesterday I had somebody, I was asking to make a video, immediately is asking, should I make a PPT? Say that means you are not reading. Don't do that. Okay. Siddharth, you will have to adjust your camera and turn the face to the camera. or the light. That's what is essential. Okay, God bless you. Thank you.
Bye, sir.
See you all. Well done, all the presenters.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Harini, love you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye, sir.
Jayashankar ji, you can.
For DrTPS MOKSHA virtual workshop. This video is created by Adira, age 20. We all know that nowadays education had become a business rather than educating people's mind. They are making this education is a manifestation of perfection already in man. It should inculcate basic knowledge, whether it's political or social. That should be inculcated for the harmonious function of the topics, which is essential for him to learn that particular topic for the spiritual and material well-being of that individual. Personally, I feel the need for knowing oneself before knowing anything else. The person who knows oneself is the one who knows everything. Thank you.
Video is made to join DrTPS Shiksha MOKSHA International Virtual Workshop. Hello everyone, my name is Dev and I study in grade 8 at GEMS United Indian School, Abu Dhabi. For right now, I would say that I'm weak at Arabic and Hindi. My plan this summer vacation is to improve in all these fields and try new things. Thank you.